What's good, YouTube? Back again with another video, and today we're looking at, well, not a mouse, but a keyboard today. This is from MCHOSE, and it is called the A68. I'm pretty sure I ordered the Pro, but it doesn't say Pro anywhere on the box, not even the label, so maybe I got scammed. But anyways, I made a Wooting ADHD video, a couple of videos, a very long time ago now, it feels like. And yeah, I've always just been kind of a Wooting shill when it comes to HE keyboards. It always just feels like there isn't really a big reason to go for something budget. They were always riddled with kind of issues, you know, having a worse software, having weird actuation points like 0.2 instead of 0.1 actuation, and then the bottom out would be 3.4 instead of 4.0. So even though the products on my channel have been more bang for your buck or budget type products, I just really never felt like it was worth it to explore budget HE keyboards just because I felt like genuinely the premium of Wooting keyboards was worth it. So in this review, I'm going to cover whether or not that has changed, because in mid 2025, we are getting competitive HE options at just the $80 price point. So obviously in the name A68, this is going to be a 68% keyboard, 68 key layout, whatever you want to call it, which is another huge reason why I decided to look into this one specifically. The ADHD I've been rocking, I've been absolutely loving, but I just don't really like the extension of the TKL layout. Now it's not that bad on this one because they made the extra columns just 2 rows, but it still is a bit chunky, especially when you consider here on the 68, the extra column is just going to be right there connected to the keyboard. You obviously get the keyboard in the box, but besides that, you get 2 extra switches, you get the cable on the switch and keycap puller, and then you do get the Wooting style strap. Obviously, I think these are more important just because I'm lazy though. I am just using my Wooting cable. Now, as for the switches, I just really can't find out which ones these are. All I see is that it says lead bog on the bottom, so I'm not really sure. It is interesting though because Gatoron does have a patent on the closed bottom magnetic switch. So I don't know if Leadbog collaborated with Gatoron here or what's going on, but I do like that it's closed bottom though, and it does give it a more satisfying sound than the open bass Lecker switches. The strap is here if you want it, I guess. Obviously I don't, which is why I have an open mind. But it's just like, we already know you're knocking off the Wooting, so why do you gotta make it so much more obvious with the strap? I don't know, in my opinion, it just looks kind of corny. Also, it says Young's choice. Who is Young? And why do we care about their choice? I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to put it away. What's next up you can see on the keyboard is that you got the knockoff high ground keycaps. So it's kind of funny that you got the knockoff strap of Wooting and then you got the knockoff high ground keycaps. It's just like, it's kind of ridiculous. I don't know. I kind of criticize MCHOSE on how the products appear sometimes. Sometimes you guys got angry in the comments about that, but I don't know. It's a knockoff product, but you don't got to make it look like a knockoff product. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I guess quick sound test. So there you go. It's not too bad for a stock HE. I just really like how the stabilizers specifically, they don't rattle. The only problem is that the spacebar is just quite loud. Well, all the stabilizers really, but the good part is, again, like I said, they don't rattle too much, if at all. And again, like I said, with the closed bottom switch, that just kind of reduces the kind of strange timbre that a lot of Wooting keyboards have, at least when they're stock with the Leckers. So I do appreciate that there. And the final thing with the sound profile is that if I take off the keycap, you can see that is a steel plate or aluminum plate. I'm not really sure which. And basically that's just going to give you a very hard bottom out, which is why the keyboard kind of sounds not the greatest, even though it has good sounding switches in my opinion. So yeah, moving forward, I would like to see MCHOSE go with a kind of more premium sounding option because you already have good switches. If you paired these switches up with, say, like a gasket mount maybe, or at least a polycarbonate plate, that would sound really, really good. You could also go ahead and mod these. I've seen the new stabilizer mods people are doing. They kind of just use pour-on stickers to make the sound dampened on the big stabilizers. You could also tape mod it and add some dampening stuff, but I'm just kind of too lazy and I'd rather show you guys what you're getting out of the box, which is still pretty good in my opinion. Next thing I'll show you guys is the WebDriver, which is, you know, the same one you use for the MCHOSE mouse if you guys seen my reviews. As you can see, A68. I don't know why it's not Pro, maybe I got scammed. But you can see everything here. You get basically everything that you need. So I just have a kind of static LED thing. I'm not too big of an RGB guy. And here are the rapid trigger settings. As you can see, I'm not really using anything too fancy. I just use a 0.9 actuation, but I think the software just messed up a bit and it went to 0.89. And for the rapid trigger, I use a deactivation and reactivation of 1mm. Again, I don't use the most aggressive settings for rapid trigger and adjustable actuation. Instead of having the fastest settings, I just prefer to have fast settings that also won't cause accidental inputs. I think that's a really big downside of Hall effect keyboards that people don't really understand if you try it for the first time. If you just get a HE keyboard and you just instantly rip 0.1 actuation, 0.1 rapid trigger, 0.1 rebound, you're going to be pressing everything like crazy. Not to mention if you play a game like CS or Valorant, if you're defusing the bomb and that rapid trigger is very sensitive, like 0.1, you might get off that defuse on accident. As you can see, there is the switch type for everything too, which I guess they have optimized it a bit more, but I don't know. It might be the starburst magnetic switch, but I don't know for sure. Yeah, I guess it is the starburst magnetic switch. I'm just dumb, I guess, or it didn't show up on the website. Now in the advertising, it does say that the accuracy is 0.01mm and the global trigger stroke is 0.01 to 3.4 millimeters. I just can't find out how to do that in these settings. Maybe you need to do something else, but honestly, I'm not really trying to use 0.01 actuation. You know, I don't even use 0.1, so what's the point, right? So it is limiting me to 0.1 here, but for the rapid trigger, I actually can go ahead and set it to 0.02. It is just up to preference again. Like I said, I don't really prefer full speed, but you know, having no miss inputs. So I will just go ahead and leave that at 1. I do have an individual key set for the crouch button just to kind of super glide in Apex Legends. This is one of the big benefits of having a Hall effect keyboard, specifically if you do play that game. I'll just put up some movement clips of just me messing around super gliding. It is kind of satisfying to be able to hit him so easily, and then especially this kind of wall bounce into a mantle into the super glide. And there's key remapping, advanced key. I do have the Rappy Snappy on A and D, so you can just kind of have everything that you would on other Hall effect keyboards. And the performance settings, all this stuff like pulling rate, key repetition optimization, stability mode, Windows key lock, switch to Mac mode, adaptive dynamic calibration, and then berserk mode. So yeah, let's see if we turn this on and go crazy with it. 0.005mm. Okay, now can I change this to something crazy? No, I still can't change it to under 0.1 actuation, so. But now you can see you can change that rapid trigger sensitivity all the way down. I'm personally not going to do that, obviously, like I said, for the accidental inputs. Let's see what 0.01 looks like. So yeah, I guess if you wanted your keyboard rapid trigger to detect when you breathe or when your blood flows through your fingertip to actuate again, then I guess you do have these settings, but yeah, like I said, I'm gonna leave that off. Go ahead and leave that, but yeah, like I said, that's basically it, right? I do really enjoy using this keyboard. Am I gonna keep it over my Wooting ADHD? I'm not quite sure yet. But if I were buying today, brand new, like never used an HE keyboard before, I definitely would go with the MCHOSE, I'm not gonna lie, just for the price to performance, the better 68 key layout. You do get a slightly more ratchet software like you saw. You know, you're not getting that perfect clean software that Wooting really keys in and dials in on. But this is a $220 keyboard versus a $70 to $80 keyboard. You know, is that software dialing worth 3 times the price? It's kind of hard to say, especially when MCHOSE has done a really good job at adapting and basically copying everything that the Wooting software does. Not only that, but exceeding that and kind of bringing the more premium software stuff like the higher scan rates, the berserk mode with the rapid trigger going under 0.1 millimeters. So yeah, I feel like if you're fresh into Hall effect keyboards, this is a good buy. I feel like the stabilizers are good stock and you can kind of mod it to sound good. If you already have a Wooting, obviously there's just no point in getting something like this, but it is cool to see that the competition is catching up. And I have no doubt that Wooting is going to respond to the competition catching up with something new, something innovative. But yeah, I just really like this gasket mount sound. It's kind of like melty. I don't know how to describe it, where this is kind of like stiff and pingy. And just the last thing, just some latency tests. These are from Artings, which I don't really prefer because they do have some faulty, recording methods. You can search that up if you're interested, but this is the best set of data we have comparing the Wooting ADHD directly with the MCHOSE A68. And obviously this is another thing people are going to consider if they're buying a budget keyboard. Has the budget really caught up if the latency isn't quite there? So Wooting is already known for, having that insane software dialed in and having the insane latency dialed in too. So what we are getting here, at least from Artings data, is a 0.4 millisecond response time. This is with tachyon mode enabled and the AK polling rate, lowest actuation. And if we are looking at basically the same thing on Artings, the MCHOSE A60 Pro, not the 68, but probably the same firmware, we are looking at a 0.7 millisecond response time. So if you're looking at the worst way, it's basically almost double. If you're looking at the best way, it's only 0.3 milliseconds off. How often are you really going to notice that? So like I said, again, for the third of the price, you know, this is a great option. If I were just getting into HE keyboards, this is the one I would buy. But yeah, that's basically it. Thanks.